Breaking news! Something big is brewing in the Broncos' backcountry, and trust me, you're going to want to know all about it. Behind the scenes in Dove Valley, things are getting busy. The Denver Broncos are quietly putting together one of the most dangerous offenses this franchise has seen in years. But here's the thing, we have a serious problem on our hands. The roster is overflowing with talent, so much talent, in fact, that there's no way we can keep it all. I'm not exaggerating when I say that some of the players who get cut from this team will go straight to other NFL rosters and start, maybe even against us. The stakes have never been higher. Sean Payton is building this team with one goal in mind, a Super Bowl run. And while that sounds like music to the ears of every Broncos fan, it comes with some brutal decisions. Roster spots are about to become the most valuable currency in Denver. Legendary veterans, rising young stars, and oddballs not selected in the draft are all fighting for the same limited spots on this rocket ship. And trust me, some of the names on the chopping block will shock you. I'm about to pull back the curtain and show you exactly what's going on, position by position, and what's happening as the Broncos march toward their final 53-man roster. But before we go any further, if you're as orange and blue as I am, hit that like button. But only do that if you've been a Broncos fan since the days of John Elway, or even earlier. And hey, if you're really part of that family, leave this in the comments right now. Go Broncos! My heart is orange and blue. Okay, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you is going to surprise you. The Broncos offense is shaping up to be something special, scary good, even, but there's a looming problem. Simply put, there's no way the team can keep all that talent on the final 53-man roster. Some players will be cut and, you can bet, will end up starting for other teams around the league. This will be one of the most competitive training camps we have seen in years. Let's start with something that might shock some fans. The Denver Broncos, for the first time in far too long, averaged over 20 points per game last season. Not only that, but the Broncos were the highest scoring offense in the entire AFC West. Yes, you heard that right. Bo Nix, in his rookie year, outscored Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and the rotating cast of quarterbacks from the Raiders. Only 9 offenses across the entire NFL put up more points than Denver last year. This was already a top 10 scoring offense, and the expectation is that Bo Nix will only be better in year 2. Add to that a legitimate tight end threat and a true workhorse running back who can hit 100 yards in a game, and the ceiling for this offense just keeps rising. Voluntary OTAs are right around the corner, starting on May 27th through the 29th, then again from June 3rd to the 5th, with mandatory OTAs kicking off on June 10th. And yes, Courtland Sutton will be there even without a new contract in place. Broncos country, football is officially back. Now, diving deep into the roster battles, let's talk quarterbacks first. Last season, the Broncos carried 3 QBs, Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, and Zach Wilson. While that worked for a time, it felt like a luxury we might not be able to afford this season. Sean Payton likes the dynamic of 3 quarterbacks to foster competition and collaboration, but with Davis Webb acting like an extra QB in the coaching room, there's a real chance Denver trims this to 2 QBs to open up space elsewhere. Sam Ehlinger, who had previous stints with the Colts and Commanders, will be competing in OTAs, but the feeling is clear. The Broncos should only carry 2 quarterbacks this season to maximize depth in more critical positions. Running back is where things get spicy. Last season, the Broncos carried just 4 backs, and it bit them hard when Samaje Perine was cut and ended up signing with the Chiefs, helping them in the playoffs. Javonte Williams has since moved on to Dallas, leaving Audrey Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin, and new addition RJ Harvey as near locks. Then there's Tyler Batty and Blake Watson, both players that Sean Payton has publicly praised. Batty, in particular, showed out in key moments, including that gritty game against Tampa Bay and the playoff game in Buffalo before his season was cut short by a brutal injury. The question here is simple. Do the Broncos carry 4 backs again, or push to 5 to keep this deep and talented room intact? Wide receiver is another area loaded with both opportunity and heartbreak. Last year, Tim Patrick didn't make the 53-man roster and ended up playing playoff football for the Detroit Lions, even scoring a touchdown. Denver carried 5 receivers last season: Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds, who is no longer with the team, Courtland Sutton, and Devin Vele. This year, the locks are Vele, Franklin, Mims, and Sutton. That's 4 already. Add to that Pat Bryant, who looks like an absolute shoo-in, and special teams ace Trent Sherfield, who was brought in to replace a key departure. That already puts Denver 1 over last year's number, and we haven't even gotten to the undrafted free agents who are turning heads. Waken Davis, the 6 feet 4 inches physical freak from North Carolina Central, and Jerwin Newton, the burner from Toledo with serious return man potential. If even one of these UDFAs makes the roster, the Broncos are now 2 receivers over their 2023 count. Something has to give. On the offensive line, the situation is just as tight. Denver's O-line was one of the highest paid and highest performing units in the league last year. Every starter is expected back, but the competition behind them is fierce. There's chatter about whether Alex Forsyth sticks around after his critical mistake on a blocked field goal, but cutting him seems unlikely. Then you've got 2 absolute maulers coming out of Georgia, Clay Webb, who was once embroiled in a legal situation that has since been fully cleared, and Xavier Truss, a key cog in Georgia's championship contending line. Both could easily make the roster under Zach Strief's guidance. But again, adding both means cuts somewhere else. Tight end might be where the Broncos find some breathing room, or not. Gone is Greg Dulcich, now with the Giants. Enter Evan Engram, a dynamic pass catcher the Broncos haven't had in years. Engram is a lock, no question. Adam Trautman also feels like a lock given his experience with Sean Payton. Then you've got Nate Atkins or Michael Burton competing for the hybrid tight end / fullback role, and wildcard Caleb Lohner, the former college basketball player whose athletic profile has teams like the Patriots and Colts kicking themselves for not signing him. If Denver doesn't put him on the 53-man roster, there's zero chance he clears waivers to land on the practice squad. Sean Payton may try the same maneuver he pulled last year with Burton, stash him on the practice squad and activate him when needed, but it's a dangerous gamble. So Broncos country, the question is real and the decisions are brutal. The Broncos are absolutely stacked on offense, but the 53-man roster cap means some tough cuts are inevitable. Which positions do you think the Broncos should prioritize? Should we trim from quarterback, go heavy on running back, or maybe make sacrifices at wide receiver or tight end? If the Broncos are going to go all in on this Super Bowl push, then this next part of the conversation gets even more critical because it's not just about who you want, it's about who you have to keep and who you absolutely can't afford to lose. Let's pick right back up where we left off. The tension between carrying more offensive weapons versus maintaining enough depth in other areas is reaching a boiling point, especially when you look at how Sean Payton historically builds his rosters. He's always been a coach who values versatility, which is exactly why the tight end and running back rooms are such focal points. Caleb Lohner's potential is through the roof. This is a guy whose comparison to legends like Jimmy Graham and Antonio Gates isn't just fluff, it's legit. The athletic profile is absolutely bonkers. But here's the thing, if you keep him, that likely forces you to go heavier at tight end than any other team in the league right now. You might be looking at 5 tight ends / fullbacks on the active roster. That's basically unheard of in today's NFL. The question becomes, is his upside worth sacrificing depth somewhere else? And then there's the offensive line. We mentioned Clay Webb and Xavier Truss earlier, but the conversation doesn't end there. Garrett Bowles, while still performing at a high level, isn't getting any younger. Denver has to think long-term here. Are Webb and Truss developmental pieces who stay on the practice squad, or do you carry them both on the 53 because you simply can't risk another team scooping them off waivers? It's a legitimate concern, and the front office knows it. The internal discussions are exactly about this kind of risk management. Look at what happened with Tim Patrick last year. He didn't make the 53, went to Detroit, played in the playoffs, and even scored. That's the nightmare scenario playing over and over again in the minds of George Payton and Sean Payton. Now apply that same scenario to a Waken Davis or Jerwin Newton. Do you risk exposing one of these guys to waivers and seeing him become a star returner or deep threat weapon somewhere else? Davis's frame and athleticism are absolutely insane. 6 feet 4 inches, an elite RAS score, and hops that could clear a basketball rim. Newton's straight line speed is the stuff special teams coordinators dream about. Either guy could contribute in the return game immediately.